Hi guys, my name is Zeeshan Hashim, and this is my third video about the research question. And the first video was about how to start the research question, how to start planning for your dissertation and thesis. And the second question and second video was about some tips about the how to make the research question. And both of those videos you can find out in the description of this video. This is the third video about the research question, and here I will give you some more tips. So I suggest you to watch these three of the videos together, and then you will get more understanding of how to construct the research question. So the first thing which is very important here, it is that your research question must be the research question must be straightforward. Means, don't try to make complex research question, and simply find out two variables and think about their relationship. And both variables must be the variable of your interest, and one variable would be the independent variable and the other would be the dependent variable. So independent variable is that variable whose impact on the dependent variable you are gonna study. Means, for example, one variable you are going to take, that's the sustainability, and the other is the profitability. So what's the impact of sustainable investment of some companies on the profitability, on their profitability? So sustainability here is your independent variable and profitability is the dependent variable. So this is just the direct question, and you can easily find out the relationship between them. And also, mean, for example, the impact of economic freedom on economic growth rate. So this is also just you find out two variables and you are gonna find their relationship. And also means, for example, if the companies or the government is going to change the accounting standards, the auditing standards, and they are gonna apply IFRS means in their country. So what's the impact of IFRS implementation on the stock market returns, or what's the impact of IFRS implementation on the the firm's profitability? So the first question here, that's about the finance. The second question is about economics, and third question is about accounting plus finance kind of things. So see here, you just find out two variables and you are going to find out their relationship. So such kind of the research questions are straightforward, and it doesn't take time to properly construct the research question. And the second feature of a good research question is that, okay, a good research question leads to the hypothesis what you are going to test it. So for example, if you are going to study the relationship between economic freedom and economic growth, so the hypothesis you can easily construct saying that, okay, if the economic freedom increases, it can leads to the economic growth. So the hypothesis would be an increase in economic freedom leads to the economic growth. And also you can make the hypothesis studying the relationship between sustainability and the financial performance. You can say that, okay, an increase in investment and sustainability encourage financial performance of the companies. And also means the changing accounting system does not change stock market return, because changing accounting system, it cannot raise the efficiency of the companies to work. So this can be the hypothesis, and according to some studies, this hypothesis is invalid. So you can also make the hypothesis that, okay, changing to the IFRS can increase the stock market return, and there can be many reasons. One is that the IFRS implementation raises the transparency of the information to the means investors. So such kind of the straightforward question can easily lead to the straightforward hypothesis. If your question is complex, so in that way you will not be able to properly construct the hypothesis. Means, for example, there are some tips. Okay, don't make such questions, because in that way you will lose yourself just trying to find out the mechanism, trying to find out the hypothesis. And also it would be very hard for to study it further. Means, for example, when you are going to study, okay, how Eastern FDI is different than the Western FDI in any country, like kind of, for example, in our case, Nigeria. So such kind of questions One thing is that you can't easily quantify in a limited period of time. Why? Because, you know, in the Eastern country, there are many, in the Eastern part of the world, there are many countries, Western part of the world, there are many countries. So how can you find out, okay, how different countries has, you know, the different kind of FDI in Nigeria. So this is very, I mean, you know, difficult for you to quantify and the data is not available. So data is basically the biggest issue. Means, for example, Western countries FDI, you can find the data, but for Eastern countries, FDI, it's very hard to find out. For example, China don't disclose its FDI information. And also, it's not easy to differentiate between Eastern and Western. Means, for example, if you are in Nigeria, how can you say that these countries are on Eastern path and these countries are Western part? Some people, according to some classification, the Western civilization, Western countries are the Western Europe or the North America, but still it's confusing. How do you differentiate? How do you define the Western and Eastern? And also it's not clear what criteria you can use in order to differentiate the Eastern FDI with the Western FDI, whether you will study, okay, what's the conditions of FDI, what's the impact on employment, what's the impact on economic growth, what's the impact on different economic variables. So it would be very hard for you to decide, okay, on what basis I can say that the FDI from Eastern countries is different than the FDI from the Western countries. So such kind of, you know, the research question, if you are going to study at the PhD level, that's easy. You can do it because you have 3 years, 4 years to do it. But at the undergrad and postgrad level, I mean, just for 4 month or 6 month research, I don't suggest you. And also means, for example, some students comes to me. I remember one student, and she suggested the research question like, okay, what's the impact of social media campaign on the profitability of the companies? And then we find out that the data was not easily available. And also, and when I suggested her, okay, if you want to basically study about it, then you go for annual reports of the companies and read all the annual reports and find out the information whether this company is investing in social media campaign and not. And it was very time-taking things. And finally, she changed the research question. So my suggestion is that don't go for such research questions whose the data is the biggest issue. So my suggestion is that go for the simple question, make simple hypothesis, and then simply test it. And if you will make yours, you know, the situation hard to deal, then go for the it means complex question, complicated question. But I don't suggest you for that. And again, you know, if you want to contact me, please contact me. And my email is given here, and we can discuss your research idea, your research question. And means I charge £50 per hour, and my introduction and the way I deal with it's also discussed. It's also given in the you know, the about section of my YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and I'm hopeful that this video will help you a lot.